God must think we all have amnesia. At the Last Supper, Jesus gave his friends bread and wine, and he said, "Eat and drink this and remember me." And when God gave Moses the instructions for Passover, he said, "Celebrate this feast every year to remember." Like the Hebrew people are going to forget the 10 plagues that God sent on the Egyptians, water to blood, frogs, flies, locusts, hail, darkness, and finally killing all the firstborn of the Egyptians while he passed over the Hebrew children. Or you think the apostles are going to forget that last night with Jesus before he was arrested, beaten, crucified, and died? But humans that we are, we do forget. Within weeks, the Hebrew people got a little thirsty and forgot all that God had done for them and whined for 40 years that life was tough and how they never should have left Egypt. And they looked back longingly on the good old days, back when they were slaves. And Jesus' apostles didn't even wait a week to forget. Within hours of the Last Supper, they all forgot that he told them plainly that he was going to die. Now, I'm not going to make you say that tonight. You've been saying that for the last 40 days, so you don't have to say it tonight. And they forgot all the miracles that he'd done. And then later tonight in the Garden of Gethsemane, they all abandoned him. God told Moses to remember, and Jesus told his friends to remember, because often our forgetters work better than our rememberers. And that's why our Jewish mothers and fathers celebrate Passover every year, to remember God's setting them free from slavery in Egypt. And that's why we do the drama of Holy Week every year, to remember Jesus last week and what he did for us on the cross and 3 days later. And that's why we celebrate communion every Sunday, to remember Jesus and what he's done for us. And that's what Maundy Thursday is all about. The word Maundy comes from the Latin word mandatum, which means mandate or commandment, as Jesus commanded his friends to love one another as he loved them, and to eat this bread and drink this wine to remember me. They're commandments. Let's obey. Let's remember. Remember what? Remember what God did for his chosen people and for his new Israel, the church, which is why we read 4 sections of the Bible every Sunday. To hear what God did for his people back then, and to remember now how good and kind and merciful and powerful, not that he was, but that he is. What else should we remember? We should remember what God has done for us in the Messiah family. That's why we celebrated our 50th birthday in 2000, along with the history book that Craig Brown wrote. And that's why we're going to celebrate our 75th anniversary this coming September with an addition to Craig's book by our history team. And if you haven't read Craig's book, there are copies in the library, and if you'd like one, I'll give you one. Because God has been as faithful and as merciful and as powerful with the Messiah family as he was with the Hebrew people. And he's provided our needs, every need, for 75 years, just as he did for Moses and company for 40 years in the wilderness, and for Israel ever since. He did it for us as recently as last fall when Hurricane Michael sprung a bunch of leaks in our roofs. And God gave us new roofs, paid for by our insurance company and installed by faithful parishioner Larry Kolchar's roofing company. Let's remember what God has done for his family, Israel, and for his new family, the church. And let's remember what God's done for us in the Messiah family. And let's each of us remember what he's done for each of us personally and in our own blood family. In the bulletin, there is always a sermon notes page. And on the back, there is always chewing on our daily bread, with discussion questions for conversation with your family or your small group or a friend, and I hope you use those. But tonight, I urge you to take this home and go through these questions with your family or with a friend and obey God's command to remember. Remember. Because the more we remember, the more we can trust that if God did that for them back then, then surely He can take care of whatever crisis I'm facing right now. And don't call me Shirley. We're about to celebrate communion. Let's do that and remember. Remember Jesus and His command to love one another. Remember all He's done for His people Israel and His people the church throughout the ages. Remember what He's done for us in the Messiah family. Remember what He's done for each of us personally. Now, does God think we have amnesia? Is that why He keeps telling us to remember? No. God knows that we have amnesia. He knows that our forgetters often work much better than our rememberers. But it doesn't have to. Not if we choose to remember.